Evening, my viewers. This is George Ondek with the latest edition of the George Ondek Show, and I'm very honored tonight to have the Putnam County Executive with me, Maryellen Odell. How are you, Miss Odell?
I'm fine, thank you.
And her economic development. Well, give me the title.
President of the Economic Development Corporation.
Megan Taylor.
Yep.
And I congratulate you on your new position with Miss Odell.
Thank you.
So what's happening in Putnam and your great county, Miss Odell?
Oh, we have a lot of good things. Bringing Megan on is really changing a lot of direction for Putnam County right now when it comes to economic development. Partnering with tourism, our director, as you know, Libby Pataki.
And she's a wonderful
Correct.
woman, and her husband was a great governor.
He was.
He brought about the STAR program, which so many middle class people take advantage of and can stay in Westchester or Putnam County.
Right, and they're Putnam County residents, and the governor swore me in on
Yes.
November 11th of 2011, which was a
Wow.
great kickoff for my administration. And shortly thereafter, Libby joined us as our director of tourism, and she's presented some great initiatives and programs. She's very hands-on. She's very accessible. It's been a real pleasure working with her.
And a very nice person,
And she's
as
a
well
wonderful
as George
person.
and their mom,
Yeah.
Rose.
And Rose, and they just celebrated their second grandbaby.
Now,
so.
I understand we have breaking news tonight that Putnam County may be getting a hotel in the
See
future.
that after less than 90 days, our new full-time president of the EDC. Critical to have a hotel in Putnam County. Very critical to economic development and growth. This is big news for us.
Megan, can you tell us more about
Sure. Libby and I are actually working with the owners of the Garrison, the Garrison
Garrison
Country Club over in
Fine
Garrison,
golf course.
and they have a beautiful golf course there and a beautiful wedding facility and really just gorgeous grounds. And they are entertaining the fact of putting in a 40-room hotel.
Wow.
Which would be tremendous for Putnam County and tremendous really for tourism in the area as well. And hence the reason why Libby and I are really working
And
closely
that's
together
one of
on
the
this.
projects you're working on
That
as
is
an
one of
economic
them. Yes.
development person?
Absolutely.
Wow.
We've been working on trying to get a hotel to Putnam County for quite some time. Even when I was a legislator, we were always trying to make that happen because we recognize that while we have so much to offer in tourism, we really became just a day trip county. So with the hotel now, all of our destinations can be enjoyed, perhaps in a long weekend or maybe even a week. We have so much to offer with our bike paths, our lakes, Fawnstock Park, the Buddhist monastery, just to name a few of destinations that are here and open and are wonderful.
Sounds great, I've been following your career. What I like about you is you keep taxes down. You don't know this about me. I'm the president of an anti-tax organization, People for 0% Taxes, and you're doing a great job in Putnam. Tell us how you feel about the budget and keeping taxes down.
Well, keeping taxes down is our everyday challenge, certainly. We say we're working every day on our budget. And when I came on board, one of the things that my Deputy County Executive, Bruce Walker, and I identified immediately was the burden of the unfunded mandates that Albany shifts down to us. And just to put it in very simple terms, I have a $139 million budget.
Wow.
$102 million of that goes directly to Albany
Wow, that seems so
for their
unfair.
programs. It's very unfair. It's very unfair. And I think what we're trying to do is to clarify a misconception. For years, you would watch state elected officials come running down to Putnam County with checks saying, here's your in member items, here's money for you, here's money for you, when in fact, all it was just a return of our dollars.
Right.
The county is pumping 90% of our tax revenue up to Albany. And they're just handing us back a bill. And it's wrong. And, it leaves us $37 million to just take care of the things that we that we feel we need to take care of outside of our responsibilities of highway and jail and emergency response. And
Does that tie in with a regional funding program? Is that from the state, or explain that
The
to me?
regional funding, I'll hand that off to Megan. The regional funding is our economic development picture. So
Then we
Megan
have
will-
to have Megan talk
So,
more about
so
that.
the regional funding was enacted when Governor Cuomo came into office, and he had rolled out this new way of receiving economic development incentives to entice businesses to relocate to New York and to expand within New York. And what he did is he basically consolidated all of the state funding programs. So there's about 28 programs spread out over 13 different agencies within this round of the CFA, of the Consolidated Funding Application.
So the applications are all the same. There's no,
Right.
hidden tricks or any hidden avenues. Everything is transparent and open and all in. And Putnam,
Right.
unfortunately, has not been as active as we should have been. And that was a lot of the reason that I pushed so hard to get a full-time president of economic development in the county. And
Sure.
this particular round of funding, in Megan's very short period of time, she's had about 30 points of contact interested in this. And it is not just for businesses, we should know.
Right.
It's for not-for-profits who are struggling to meet the demands of what they offer in services, and also to deal with their cuts that Albany has been
Right.
cutting them exponentially over the years. So,
And
we're
it's-
here for both the business and the not-for-profit.
Exactly, and it's also, this regional funding is also for municipalities as well. So anybody looking to do a feasibility study in terms of transportation or maybe energy efficiencies and trying to, to promote their local municipality as well. Any type of state funding that anybody is looking to receive, you have to go through this process now. So it's just a way, again, to consolidate the money that is in Albany to try to get businesses.
You know,
to
an
use.
idea, I don't know if you have a grants writer in Putnam or not. I know a lot of towns are getting people who get these government grants from the state. Is that an idea?
Well, I'm going to keep a copy of
Okay.
this tape and play it back for my colleagues on the legislature, because
Really?
we did, in fact, budget for a grants
Oh, wow.
position.
Wow.
And
My school board just did it. I live in Peekskill, and I know
Right.
the town, I'm pretty sure has
it's a very smart position to
Sure.
have.
Even if you spend $100,000, if you can bring back millions in aid of
Where
from
I
the
should
state.
have, right, I should have brought you in
You
the
wanna come and
last
talk?
budget process.
Well, I'm sort of retired, but I might consider it.
Right.
just
No,
kidding,
it really is a very smart way, and we have looked at it, and I think that we will realize after this particular round of funding that it is something we need. And we have noticed that while we're studying transportation in Putnam County with our transportation task force, trying to meet the needs of a rural county and mass transit to see, why are we spending so many dollars, a couple $1 million to serve a less than 1% population. We're trying to, make those two fit. The grant writers, really something we've identified as a smart way to spend
Wow.
our money, yeah.
Now, I heard you talk about Libby Pataki and tourism. Boy, what a tie-in with a new hotel there.
I know. And Libby and I really have been working very closely together on numerous different fronts throughout the county. Putnam is an absolutely gorgeous county and an obvious tourist attraction. And what we are trying to do is tie together tourism and economic development to promote the businesses that are already here and to try to attract new ones coming in. There's 3 of the 30 leads that I've been working on since I came on April 1st is actually 3 breweries, microbreweries that are looking to locate to Putnam County,
Wow.
which would be an obvious tourist attraction and really tie into economic development very nicely, creating jobs, bringing in capital investment to the county. So we're working together to really try to make those come to fruition.
Sounds great. And
Food and beverage has been identified as a cluster here that works well for Putnam County.
and restaurants.
Right, just like Peekskill.
Yeah, Peekskill seems to be booming with restaurants.
Peekskill's a
lately.
terrific model for us to study in Putnam County. It really is. The growth, the smart growth that Peekskill's sustained over the years with its arts and culture and the microbrewery, the craft beer, and all of
I
that.
hear you lost your economic development
My planner.
Your planner back to Peekskill.
Well, we
Anthony.
stole them, and then they stole them back. I didn't put the no backsies clause on them, but
Okay.
when we identified him as being somebody that would be a perfect fit for Putnam, he is a Putnam homegrown kid. We knew that he was, just a superstar, and that that somebody someday would recognize what we recognize. I just didn't realize it would be so quick. But in the time we've had him, he's really laid out a good roadmap for us in a good direction.
Now,
for us.
Miss Odell, something just passed, Flag Day.
Yes.
And my tie to Putnam is my son lives in your county.
Yes.
His name's George Ondek. He lives in Kent. And his son just graduated from Paris Island. He's in the Marine Corps.
And you're very
and
proud.
I hear you're very pro-military and pro-serving our country.
I enjoy serving our veterans as the county executive, but I have been involved in a lot of veterans organizations for a very long time, even before I was a legislator. And I most recently was invited to take the honor flight to Washington, D.C., where I was honored to escort one of our own, Putnam County's own World War II veterans, Maryellen Odell, who was a POW, back to Washington, D.C. It was really a wonderful event. But I wear my Marine Corps pin, and I wear my veterans pin every day.
And I hear you were wearing the flag all over the county. Lake Lenida, was there 110 flags there or something?
That was our Row of Honor initiative. That was a first-time initiative that I introduced to Libby as a tourism and to our veterans as a way to raise funds for, actually this particular round was for the Purple Heart, who actually sponsored the honor flight that I went on. So we offered sponsorship for 100 made in the USA American flags, and we displayed them all along Lake Lenida.
I like that, made in the USA.
Correct.
Well, you wouldn't believe it. I bought a Vietnam veterans hat, U.S. Army Vietnam, and I looked on the inside, and it said made in China.
Well,
I put it back, and I got one from made in the USA.
I'll tell you a true story. When we did the moving wall, when I worked for Senator Ball's office in my hiatus between legislature and county executive.
And isn't he a great senator, by the way?
He's a terrific senator, and we do share the same supporters.
What I liked about him, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran. I don't have a Purple Heart, but Mr. Ball put on fantastic dinners for Vietnam vets, and I felt like I was finally being welcomed
Welcomed
back home.
Right? That's
At
huge.
the Mayapack Firehouse and then
I was
at a
there.
country
Yeah.
club.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Very
that's-
appreciated. It's really a wonderful thank you. And at Thanksgiving, I think it's very timely.
Yes.
That he does that. But when we brought the moving wall to Putnam after 15 years in October of 2011, we were looking to help offset the cost and buy some caps. And Carl Rohde, our director of Veterans Affairs, who's a Silver Star Vietnam veteran, looked inside his cap when we were looking at the different ones, and that one was made in Vietnam. And it's so interesting how
I was at a
life turns
Kohl's
around.
store and I saw a shirt and I was about to buy it. It said made in Vietnam. I threw it back on the rack and bought one from America, $2 or $3 more, but I was willing to pay that.
Right. No, we're very proud of the Row of Honor, and we'll do it again on Veterans Day. So anyone who's interested, the whole idea is to buy a flag in honor of someone, whether they served their country or just loved their country. And the proceeds will go, again, like I said, to a veterans organization, whether it's Wounded Warriors. It goes within a committee, and the decision will be made.
Hometown
Yeah, there's so many
Heroes.
wonderful, legitimate organizations out there.
And I know we don't want to promote Mr. Ball tonight, but he's taking World War II vets to Washington, D.C.
He's doing an honor flight of his own, but he's doing it in a bus, on a bus.
And
trip.
paying for their dinners, breakfast, and a trip to
Yes,
reunite
and
World War II
I,
vets.
having experienced the honor flight, I can tell you that he will walk away the way I walked away, feeling extremely empowered by spending that much time with the greatest generation. Those few who gave so much for so.
And we can't forget Vietnam vets. They're the
We never
forgotten
do.
generation
Right.
because of the liberalism that went on in the country at that time. Many of us were forgotten for 45 years. And Mr. Ball made it happen. And you too, I know you assisted him. That's where I met you that night.
That's one of I think the kindest things that Americans can do for those of you who served in Vietnam is to just say
And
welcome home.
I must
and it
tell
means
my
a lot.
audience too, I met you 3 or 4 months ago, and she was at a Purple Heart Foundation dinner for Purple Heart recipients and Congressional Medal of Honor recipient that night.
And that was because Putnam County was officially declared the first Purple Heart County
That's right.
in New York under our administration.
And
We're
I
very proud of that.
understand the fellow, I forgot his name, from Cortland is now the state commander of the Purple Heart.
Willie Nazario.
Yeah, great guy,
wonderful
by
man.
the way.
They all are.
I've had him on my TV show a few
Yeah,
times.
wonderful. Dennis Castelli, who's
Oh,
our county
Dennis.
historian,
Great guy.
had an awful lot to do with making Putnam County officially the first Purple Heart County in New York
You
State.
mentioned Castelli. Wasn't there a state assemblyman, Mr. Castelli? Is he?
Well, he represented parts of
Yeah,
Westchester.
so
Yeah,
we
sure.
got to get him back in office. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's
Well,
a
let's
good
get
man.
back to economic development. What do you see in the next year or two in Putnam? Are you talking to any developers or anything?
We are. I am. The county is positioned very well right now, just really based on location. You know, directly in between Westchester and Dutchess, we have a ton of opportunities in Putnam based on our shovel-ready sites that we have. We have one of the most highly skilled workforces in the Hudson Valley. And I am continuing to partner with our regional and state economic development officials to really get Putnam back on the map in terms of being business friendly and open for business. Under Maryellen, the administration is absolutely phenomenal in terms of welcoming people in and really trying to drive job growth and capital investment. So I see a lot on the horizon for Putnam.
Maryellen, I saw another breaking news this morning. You're going to save people on sales tax. Do you want to talk a little bit about that just before they go back to school?
Yeah, thank you. This is what we coined in our State of the County. It's called Back to School Sales Tax Free Holiday. And what we had proposed was a 10-day period of time in August where families could go purchase school supplies, clothing, books, pens, all the things that you need to get a kid back to school, and make the sales tax portion of the bill exempt. And we studied it, and we recognize that it's done all over the country. I presented it last year to the state, and the Senate unanimously approved it. We struggled with the Assembly. We brought it back this year, and what we did was we sort of split it a little bit. Not sure that we were going to get full state support, although I'm confident we're going to get the Senate again. Getting a little bit of pushback from the Assembly. They're not quite sure this is something that they are willing to promote. But the county itself, the county of Putnam, will be waiving its county sales tax for that 10-day period
That's great.
of time.
So that's about 4.5% less taxes.
Well, yeah, and if you put it in dollars and cents, if as a parent, it would probably cost about $1,000 easily
To go back to school.
outfit a kid to get back to school. So saving that $45, $50 can either go towards an item that the kid would need otherwise, or maybe the family goes to dinner that night and gets to spend
And
a
that's
little
by
bit of time.
one kid. By 4 kids, if a person had 4 kids,
That's
they
right.
save $200.
And that's for the family. But what we're also trying to drive here is Main Street. We're trying to help our local businesses. We're trying to get the folks in Putnam County to shop in Putnam County. And I think the incentive is there, built in. If they're going to save a little bit of money, then why not take a look at that business down the street and stop in and get your goods.
Do you have a Putnam County Day where you have a festival or something? That might be an idea to promote business in the future.
Well, we have a very active Putnam County Chamber of Commerce now that's
yes.
collectively
And
representing all
who's
the
the
chambers.
head of it, Miss Marr?
Jennifer Marr, yeah.
I think I know her. Very fine.
Don't tell anybody,
person.
but the women are taking over.
Oh, really?
It's
that
a big
mean-
secret.
Does that
I don't
mean
know if they
we
figured
might
it out
have
yet.
Does that mean we might have a woman president someday, and you might be eligible
not-
to move up?
I would love to be. I would love to be able to say that I could. I could see that in the future. But
But you like where you're at.
I love being the county executive. I really do. I first of all grew up in this county, and I love this county, and I raised my kids here, and I've been very active in a whole diverse area of volunteering and being in the legislature, and now having the honor to serve as a county executive. It's really,
Wow.
it's
And
really
that is
been
quite an honor.
it's living the dream. What?
Now, you work very closely with Rob Astorino, our county executive.
Yeah.
I'm in Westchester, I live in Peekskill.
Yes,
And he does a tremendous job.
yes.
And I know the Tappan Zee Bridge is not part of Putnam.
Oh, but it is.
It is,
We,
it
you
is.
know, the Putnam County has 16 miles of shoreline.
Oh,
Due
wow.
north of that project.
Right.
So,
But
you know,
I
what I
know-
call the west coast of my county, where the tourism hub is, that environmental impact study, had to pass the straight face test.
Yes, and I know you voted positively for it along with several other county execs. And
Yeah.
we needed your vote in order to get that passed.
NIMCHIC does require unanimous approval, and what we were looking at, other than the shoreline, was the opportunity for jobs. I have a county filled with union families. We're very much a
I'm
union.
very pro-union.
And I
by
was
the way.
raised in a union family, both my grandfather and my fathers and my aunts and, my family. So what I look at this as part of history. Out of the Depression, all of the major infrastructure projects brought people back to work. And I identified the TZ Bridge as a great way to get our union families back.
And Megan, how do you feel about promoting jobs in the future through economic development? If you bring in big office buildings or stores, it creates jobs.
Absolutely, and we're trying to keep our talented workforce in Putnam, and by bringing in our bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. and bringing manufacturing back to Putnam County, identifying corporate headquarters which have been interested in Putnam County, trying to bring those types of jobs back in. That's what we're really trying to do to promote job growth here.
Sounds very interesting. What's your background and why were you picked to be the...
Before I started here in Putnam, I was the Director of Business Attraction at the Orange County Partnership, which is the Office of Economic Development for Orange County, New York, on the other side of the
Wow.
river.
I've
So-
heard of Orange County.
Yep.
I get over there once in a while.
Very different from Putnam. Very different, but really coming here, it was an easy transition. Economic development is economic development regardless
Sure.
of where you are, and partnering with local commercial brokers, commercial real estate developers, and really our regional and state economic development
And I
officials.
hear you're very qualified for the job. You have a master's in what?
Marketing.
Marketing.
In marketing
Yes.
from Mount St. Mary College. Yep.
So I think it's an excellent pick by you, Miss
Well,
Odell.
I should say that it was the Economic Development Board
Right.
that vetted through all the applicants and chose Megan. And I think that they chose the perfect person to represent the vision of my administration, and that's bringing jobs and smart growth.
Right.
You can't talk about skyscrapers in Putnam County. It just
No.
doesn't fit.
Because you've got to have a balance between green and development.
We're a
So-
we're a watershed county, and so we have to be very mindful of the rules and regulations of the watershed. And we're a very home rule county, which means that each town has their own zoning and planning
Right.
preferences, and of course we respect that. What we do have, I think that Putnam County has, is that 50-mile window from New York City. We
Right.
have 2 rail lines, and we have 2 interstates, the Taconic and 684. And Metro North is now very, very interested in a close partnership with Director Pataki for tourism, knowing that the
Yes.
rail runs both ways. So, we have the history, we have the heritage, we have the infrastructure, and now we have somebody full-time to meet with the investors and meet with the entrepreneurs
And you have a
and
great-
showcase our beautiful county.
And you have a great part-time tourism director.
She's
Libby
full-time.
Patel. Oh, she's full-time.
Oh, sure.
Oh, wow.
Libby's on
and
that
she's
floor,
in the
third
office,
floor.
from what I hear.
Every day.
Every day.
She's on the third floor every single day. Libby is
and
extremely
she comes
out
from
there.
my fine home city of Peekskill, New York, along with her husband George, who had Pataki Farm. And you know what? It's a shame in Peekskill that they haven't put a statue up for George Pataki. Maybe I'll have to lobby my mayor and council, or the new mayor and council that'll come in next year, that we get that right corrected in
Well, you know,
Peekskill.
they're very modest people.
Yes,
And
I know.
I'm sure that he would be honored.
His father, Louis, was a great guy, and so was his mother, Rose. She
Right.
once said, I took a video of her, and she says it was the best video she ever had. Apparently, she was a very good politician, too.
Herself. I
Yeah,
think what
no,
defines them
wonderful
is they're
lady.
very authentic.
Yes,
They're very, very authentic
down-to-earth
people.
people,
Correct.
good people.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're almost near the end of the show. We're in our final 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm very honored to have had you on the George Ondek show tonight. You will not only be seen in 40 cities throughout Westchester and Putnam, but on YouTube all over the world. What do you have to say in closing? Let's see, I'll start with Megan.
Perfect. I would just say that please keep your eye out for Putnam County. You're going to see numerous marketing campaigns for economic development coming through my office. We are redoing the website, and you are going
How can people reach you if they want to reach you?
Absolutely. You can check out the new website. It's going to be live on July 15th. And
What
it's
is it?
www.putnamedc.org.
Okay. And Miss Maryellen Odell, what do you have to say to my vast audience in closing?
Well, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to not only introduce, you know, an up-and-coming star in economic development, but, you know, to just talk about our county, which, you know, has an awful lot to offer. And as Megan said,
And
you know,
how can people reach you, Miss Odell, if they want to reach you after seeing this show?
well, our phone number, which I'm sure you'll post up, is 845-808-1001. And so, you know, we're always open for business in Putnam County.
And this has been the first time I've had you on my show. I hope it's the first of many in the future, especially next year when you're running for re-election.
Is that next year already?
I think
Thank you.
so.
Really?
It's amazing.
Thank you
oh,
so
I'm
much.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, my audience, this has been George Ondek with my two lovely guests from Putnam County. Look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, Miss
Thank you.
Odell. Thank you, Miss.